Hi, guys. Welcome to Books to Billionaires. Let's learn one powerful lesson that can change your life today. So, I want you to picture a young guy. Let's call him Kenji. Okay, every single new year, Kenji looks in the mirror and promises himself, this is it. Everything's going to change. He pictures himself completely breaking free from all his bad habits and evolving into this hyper-productive, super successful version of himself. But year after year, he ends up right back exactly where he started. He's just feeling totally stuck, kind of floating through life, not getting a single step closer to his dreams. And honestly, the pain of that cycle is just crushing. He's trapped in what we call the valley of disappointment. But what if he told you Kenji's problem actually isn't a lack of motivation? What if it's literally just a flaw in his system?
To help Kenji and, well, all of us break out of this cycle, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The power of tiny changes. 2. Systems rather than goals. 3. Identity and the habit loop. 4. The 4 laws of behavior change. And finally, 5. Building your habit system. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the power of tiny changes. Imagine you're piloting a plane, right? You're flying from New York to Los Angeles. But just before takeoff, you adjust the nose of the plane by a tiny, almost invisible fraction. We're talking just 3 degrees, which is like maybe 80 inches. Sitting in the cockpit, it feels like absolutely nothing has changed. But if you keep flying in that straight line, you are not landing in LA. No way. You're going to end up hundreds of miles away in Tijuana, Mexico. And you know what? This is exactly how our habits work. A tiny 3-degree shift today completely dictates an entirely different destination years from now.
Let's actually look at the underlying math of this, because it's wild. If you manage to get just 1% better every single day for 1 year, those tiny little gains compound. By the end of that year, you aren't just slightly better. You are literally nearly 38 times better than when you started. But there's a flip side. Be warned. If you get 1% worse every day, you'll compound your way down to almost 0. So every day, your habits are either slowly building your ultimate form or they're quietly destroying it. So with that in mind, why do so many of us quit? Well, it's because we expect progress to be linear. We put in a solid week of intense effort, grinding hard, and we expect immediate, visible results. But early progress is practically invisible. And this creates what the author perfectly calls the valley of disappointment. This is the exact moment Kenji usually just gives up and slips right back into his old, comfortable routines. What he doesn't realize is that the most powerful, life-changing outcomes of compounding are always, always delayed. Okay, let's dive into this next part. Section 2, systems rather than goals.
Society is always telling us to set specific, realistic goals, right? But there is a huge flaw here that nobody talks about. Successful and unsuccessful people, they share the exact same goals. Every single Olympian wants the gold medal, so the goal obviously isn't what separates the winners from the losers. Goals really only determine your direction. Systems, on the other hand, those daily processes and routines you follow, those are what actually determine your progress.
The source material makes such a fascinating argument here. Think about it like this. If Kenji completely ignored his massive goal of losing 50 pounds and solely focused on his daily system of just eating healthy and moving his body every day, he would still succeed. Achieving a goal changes your life for one single moment, but building a system, that changes your life forever. Moving on to section 3, identity and the habit loop. Let's rebuild how we think about habits. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that there are 3 layers of behavior change. Most people try to change their outcomes first. They say, I want to run a marathon. But true, lasting behavior change actually happens from the inside out. It starts at the core, with your identity. See, the goal isn't to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. Once Kenji adopts the identity of a runner, his behaviors just naturally align with that new belief. He runs because it's simply who he is now. And to actually act on this new identity, we need habits. Biologically speaking, a habit is simply a behavior that you've repeated enough times that it becomes entirely automatic. It's basically your brain's genius way of solving the recurring problems of life with the absolute least amount of energy and effort possible. So how do they work? Well, every single habit, whether it's good or bad, is governed by a continuous 4-part neurological feedback loop. First, there's a cue, which triggers a craving. That craving then motivates a response, which finally delivers a reward. If you want to become the master of your life, you have to master this specific loop. Let's actually look at this loop in action with a rapid-fire real-world example. Q. Your phone buzzes on the desk. Craving. You feel that little itch of uncertainty, right? You really want to know who messaged you. Response. You pick up the phone. Reward. Boom, your curiosity is satisfied. You repeat this enough times and it becomes completely automatic. Your brain literally wires itself to grab the phone every single time it buzzes, without you even consciously thinking about it.
Let's move to section 4 and see how this builds into the 4 laws of behavior change.
Guys, this matrix right here is the ultimate cheat code for human behavior. To build a good habit, you just need to pull 4 specific levers. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And if you want to destroy a bad habit that's been holding you back, you simply invert those exact laws. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. So let's tackle Law 1, make it obvious. A lot of the time, we mistakenly believe we lack motivation, when really we just have a poorly designed environment. Context is the cue. If Kenji wants to read more, he shouldn't hide his book away in a desk drawer, he should place it right on his pillow. He's got to adopt the mantra of one space, one use. You really can't expect to work productively on the exact same couch where you binge watch Netflix and eat pizza, right? Redesign your space to make the good cues blindingly obvious and the bad cues totally invisible.
Now for Law 2, make it attractive, we have to talk about dopamine. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you experience pleasure, but when you anticipate it. And you can totally hack this using something called temptation bundling, which relies on Pramack's principle. Basically, you link an action you need to do, like, say, exercising, with an action you instantly want to do, like watching your absolute favorite anime. The excitement and anticipation of watching the show makes that difficult workout instantly more attractive.
Next up is Law 3, make it easy. Listen, the biggest enemy of a new habit is friction. To conquer that friction, you use the 2-minute rule. Kenji shouldn't try to go out and run 5 miles on his very first day. That's the setup for failure. Instead, he should scale it way down to simply putting on his running shoes and stretching for 2 minutes. That's literally it. You have to anchor the routine and build momentum first before you can even worry about optimizing the results. Reduce the friction so much that it is quite literally impossible to fail.
All right, bringing it all together in Section 5, building your habit system.
First step is habit stocking. You can create a seriously unbreakable chain of behavior by tying a new desired habit directly to an existing automatic one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 5 minutes. Think about it. Your brain is already hardwired to brush your teeth without fail, so you're simply attaching a new car to a train that's already moving at full speed. Second is the implementation intention formula. Vagueness is the absolute enemy of action. Saying something like, I'm going to read more is just a guaranteed path to failure. You need absolute clarity. You must declare, I will read a book for 15 minutes daily at 6 a.m. in the spare bedroom. By getting hyper-specific about the time and the location, you completely eliminate the friction of having to make a decision in the moment. But look, we're human. What happens when things inevitably go wrong? To fulfill Law 4, make it satisfying, you really need visual proof of your progress, like a habit tracker. And when life hits you hard and you end up missing a day, you absolutely must obey the ultimate survival rule. Never miss twice. Missing once is a mistake. Missing twice is the start of a brand new negative habit loop. On a terrible day, doing 10 sit-ups is infinitely better than doing 0. Just show up and keep that chain alive. So the crucial point is this. Kenji finally realizes he doesn't need some magical, explosive, overnight transformation to achieve his dreams. He doesn't need to stress himself out over massive, unattainable goals. His ultimate form is forged in the quiet, consistent, 1% decisions he makes every single morning. Because at the end of the day, your life is just the sum of your daily habits. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the tiny 1% change you're going to implement into your daily system today? Thanks for watching Books to Billionaires. If you found this explainer helpful, please subscribe for more powerful book insights and life-changing lessons. You'll find all the book links in the description below.